Good
Good
morning,
morning.
everyone. I hope everyone is starting off their morning great. We're going to jump right into it. And so today we really want to focus on when life be lifing, as you know, the kids say today, when life be lifing, and how our faith plays a part in that. And you think about it from so many different viewpoints of how we utilize faith in our life. We know that the Bible says that we're supposed to, utilize faith no matter what, that even if things don't look like we assume they should look, that we still should utilize our faith in God in the final results of what He says is going to be. So, from a therapeutic standpoint, what does faith look like, right? What is actively utilizing faith look like from a therapeutic standpoint? Most clients or most people don't come to therapy out of fear, right? And we learn in the Bible that fear and faith can't coexist. You're either fearful or you have faith. And so when you're contemplating going to therapy, you have to set aside your fear in order to have the faith to go. And then while you're in therapy, your faith is still activated because you have to have faith that you're going to get the necessary tools you need, that you're going to get the revelations you need, that we're going to address the deep rooted issues that you need. If you go in there with the attitude of this ain't gonna work, this person isn't good, I don't like this person, this isn't working, then you're right. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna help you. You're not gonna get the revelations you need. Um, and so there were a couple of scriptures that I wanted to come from in order to hone in on the idea of faith. Um, the first one was 2 Corinthians 5 and 7. For we live by faith and not by sight. Of course, that one is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, truly living by faith means we don't always know what the end outcome is going to be. We don't always even see it in the midst of it, but we still have to utilize it in order to get to the other end of that. The next one that I was going to speak from was Matthew 21, verse 22, and it reads, Jesus replied, truly I tell you, if you have faith and do not doubt, not only can you do what was done to the fig tree, but also you can say to this, go throw yourself into the sea and it will be done. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. I really like this verse 8 because it says that Jesus is replying to someone who asked a question specifically about a fig tree. But what he says in here is that if you have faith, you don't have to worry about it. If you have faith and you have been in prayer and you believe that, then you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. So from a therapeutic standpoint, if you're asking for, hey, I need to get through this traumatic experience, I understand why I had to go through this. Why me? Because people from childhood trauma go through all those emotions. If it's determining whether relationships, all of these things that we encounter in our everyday life, some of us hold on to, a lot of us hold on to for years and don't actually get through. We question all of those things, and we don't have always have the answers of what it's going to look like on the other side. Well, that's where faith plays a big part in your therapeutic journey. The last verse that I want to was Hebrews 11, 1 through 6. Verse 1 reads, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commanded for. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made of what was visible. But by faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offering. And by faith, Abel still speaks even though he is dead. By faith, Enoch was taken from his life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended and as one who has pleased God. And without faith, it is impossible. It is impossible to please God because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him.
Yeah.
So verses 1 through 6 in Hebrews chapter 11, it gives examples of those who were faithful to God and his promises. And in that last verse, in verse 6, 11 and 6, it's impossible to please God without faith. Obviously, it's we don't have a physical manifestation, meaning in the natural of what God looks like. So that is faith at works. Believing that what we pray and what we ask for is that He will come through. Same thing through your therapeutic journey. It's that you have faith that the things that you are wanting to get help with, that you're going to receive that help. Um, and we put a lot of faith in our professionals, as you should, because that's what we're trained to do. But I don't want you to get discouraged if it doesn't look like what you feel like it should look like. If you're having a hard time understanding, if you have those hard parts, if you're having to have difficult conversations, if you have to change therapists, because this is the reason we have so many different type of therapists, is because so you have the opportunity to choose one that works best with you. I find a lot of people stop after that. If they find a therapist that they just didn't mesh well with, it didn't necessarily go the way they anticipated, they then stop. And so you have people say therapy doesn't work, when in turn you just stopped at the first kind of hump that you got or mountain you had to cross. We often relate therapy to physical health. If you found a doctor that you didn't like and it wasn't actually helping you heal in the way that you needed to, you will go find another doctor. If the first surgeon didn't do the job correctly and you were still needing surgery, you wouldn't stop at not getting surgery again. You would try to do your best to find a surgeon who could do it correctly. Where your mental health is the same way. In the event you come across a therapist that doesn't work or doesn't fit with you, you go find the correct therapist. You have faith. If you're having the faith that God has led you to be in therapy to get these revelations, then we need to go through that process. So I've said a lot, ladies.
I like that.
um, so when life be life, y'all, we gotta have faith. What will you
Mm.
ladies add to that?
I was gonna say, I was just listening to you and I'm like, life is always life and it's gonna continue to life because that is what God told us. He didn't, promise us that life was gonna be sweet, nice, and easy. He said in this life we will have trials and tribulations. And so when those things come, we have to have faith to know that God already knew, right? Because we were with him before we were here. So understanding that God already knew what we were going to encounter, but now it's up to us to actually walk through the things that we've encountered in life. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and what I realized is that there's some things that I've experienced in life that not everybody around me has experienced. So my process looks different. Even with the experience, even though I know that I'm wanting to be in agreement, with everybody around me as far as like, hey, there's something we have to do. But I had to go the extra step of understanding that my healing journey had to come with some deliverance. And so being delivered from the things of the past, and so as far as when it comes to therapy, understanding that, hey, we can help you as far as on the healing journey, but you have to incorporate God in it for you to completely not have to deal with the residue of your past. And so I'm so grateful to God for allowing me to experience and see the importance of what he's trying to do also in mental health as well as just in the church and just with his people. God wants us to be cleaned up completely and not having to deal with the residue of the things that we've had to experience in the past that some of us had no control over, that we didn't sign up for the bad things. Some of it, yes, we put on ourselves, but a lot of the things that we experience as children we didn't ask for. So we have to be mindful of the work that it takes with the faith to make sure that we're going to the right places to get the help that we need. So we have to use wisdom. And if you feel like you don't have wisdom, go to someone that you believe is wise enough to give you that instead of, it's just like, hey, change. I want to change. I want to experience change, but I can't get change if I don't choose to change how I'm approaching or thinking about situations. And so it's okay to know that if you have not got on the right track, that you still have an opportunity because you're still here to get on the right track. So use the faith that you have, and even if you don't have faith, believe me, it has to be at least one person. Get around at least one person that has faith, and they will have faith enough to believe with you or for you, and you can see change begin to happen even with that.
That's good, you two. I was just thinking in general the reason why we created Glow. Plug a little bit, but life is lifing.
Yeah.
And we have to take our real life situations plus the things that our clients walk through and create something so profound that it touches all areas of life. Like what Tatiana said, you can experience the same thing. We get this a lot of time in mental health. Children can grow up in an abusive child household growing up. One person is all right, another person goes a whole nother way. Like they are the product of their environment. And it's a phenomenon in the sense of people will say, well, they lived in the same household. Why did one turn out one way and the other one didn't? But this is life, right? And so in life in general, there's going to be time for us all where we go through things that we're going to need help with. Um, and that's just the truth. God didn't put us out here just to be here by ourselves and walk through lives on our own. In First Thessalonians, he calls us all to build each other up. We understand as therapists and people living in this world today, life is life, and we got the elections coming up. Everything is prices are raising on everything. We can act like life is all good and sweet, but the truth is we're all experiencing the same things on a lot of levels. This is why God and therapy is important, and the need to try both. If you know that you don't have the tools to deal with life, it's okay to ask for help. And walking through life, when we was talking about this topic, I had to go to God and try him for myself. And that's how we can share so much about how God works, and he does do what he says he's going to do. But also therapy. If it wasn't for my team, I would have had a therapist myself. Luckily, I have wise counsel around me. Um, that have been able to counsel me through some things, and just the people that we're connected with. But that required help. It says faith without works is dead, meaning we still have to do the work. And I want to say this to someone out there that may be listening. Even if the circumstance and perhaps even came from you, whatever it is that you have dealt with in your life, if you're here today, that means that you've already overcame it. But you still, what Tatiana was saying, you still have to deal with the residue of what was left behind. I know last week we talked a little bit about Lot's wife and how she turned into a pillar of salt. I'm pretty sure Lot holding her hand had residue of salt when she, disappeared. He still had it on his hands. What God in therapy does in both ways, it cleans you up from the inside out. Therapy gets all the ugliness out, and God does too. He cleans you up. We know this from experience, from where we used to be, and things we still deal with. He's still working on us too, but we glow. We live life differently. And it's amazing to see. But life is life in for us all. It's really the tools that we have that God has already put here on this earth that's going to see us all through.
Yeah, that's true. Um,
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. Just like out of the blue, my power just went out for absolutely no reason. So I didn't have any control over that. I just had to wait it
Life
out for
is
the
life.
5 seconds.
life,
Yeah,
Life
life
life,
is
on life on life.
life. What an
Yeah.
example.
Power just went
life,
out. It was
life.
out for like 5 seconds and then came back on. So yeah.
Awesome.
I definitely agree. We don't often talk about faith is Tatiana talked about. We don't always need a lot of faith. The Bible talks about that only you need a mustard seed. If anybody knows what a mustard seed looks like, it's very, very small. Very, very small. Um, but it takes that little bit to get you to the next level, to get you to the hump, to where you have the abundance of faith. Where we sit at now, where we have the abundance of faith. If we weren't around people who didn't have any faith, or we didn't at least have that mustard seed, we wouldn't be sitting here on the other side of a lot of the things that we've had to encounter. And so understanding is that you don't need to come here with a whole lot, because oftentimes when you're in therapy, when you come to therapy, you're depleted at
Yeah.
that point, of a lot of things, your emotions, physical energy, your habits, your mind frame. You're depleted at a lot of levels. Um, but what God even says, just give me that little bit you got left. All I need is that little bit, and we can work with that little bit that you have, in order to get you on the other side of what you're currently dealing with. And that's what we do at Glow Stars. Is that we're going to take that little bit that you have, and we're going to open it up. It's going to hurt a little bit. You're going to have to encounter some things, some questions you hadn't thought about, or you may have thought about, and now you have to talk about it out loud. Because it's totally different when you hear it in your head and when you have to hear it outside out loud, and you have to actually say those words. But if you have the faith and you truly want to get on the other side of whatever it is that you're dealing with, you have to have faith. And with faith, you have to have some work. We can't do all the work for you. I always say this to every client because I think it's important. I say you can be a world-renowned therapist. The types that write books and do all these things, the type of things that we will be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But if a client has not decided that they are all in, it doesn't matter what therapist is in front of you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what therapist is in front of you at all. If you haven't decided that you are ready to start making the changes, no therapist can help you. We can't do the work for you. We can give you all the tools, all the information, all the encouragement, but if you don't actually want to do the work, it means absolutely nothing. So I implore everybody who is going to come to therapy, who's thinking about therapy, to understand that you have to be all in the process, even when it gets tough, even when you don't like it, even when you're being challenged. You have to be all in order to see the other side of it. And part of our job is being able to get you out your comfort zone. You've been comfortable in your in things that you shouldn't be comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
But we've made it comfortable. We in that because it's more comfortable than looking on the other side. So you're going to be challenged. You're going to be put in asked questions that you may not necessarily wanted to answer, but need to answer. So I want to make sure everybody understands that faith is an important aspect of that. Faith is important in being able to see the to be prepared for the other side of what you're going to get through your healing journey. But you also have to be all in and not expecting the professional who you'll be sitting in front of to do all the work for you. That's actually not our job. I know a lot of people think that is, but that isn't our job. Our job is to give you the tools to help you, to challenge you mentally, to get you to look at things differently, to get you to actually work on the things that we ask you to work on in order to get you on the other side. Um, you have to do that. We can't do that part for you.
Right. I was just going to say, you have to have faith to be honest, right?
Mm.
And I feel like a lot of times that's where a big hiccup can be with therapy is that people don't always come into therapy being honest. And
Yeah.
I feel like once we get the honesty and understanding that if you're not open and honest, then I can't help you to be able to see the things that you need to see. So you have to have faith to be open enough and to be honest. And so it's just so important and it's so vital to the therapeutic process of being open with your communication and understanding that you do have an issue and not continuing to be in denial about what you're experiencing or how you feel. And so we have to make sure that in those moments that it's just like, hey, I'm coming to you because I need help, and I know that I don't have the answers to be able to help myself, so which is why I'm here. And so but a lot of times I've seen it to where people want you to be like a genie or a mind reader and pull all of the trauma out of them. And it's just like, I'm asking you questions. Either you're going to answer them truthfully or honest and actually open up. And I'm not asking for you to do it the very first time, but after we've met a few times, in order to get to the root of things, there has to be a level of communication and vulnerability there that to open yourself up to start exposing some of the hurts and the pains and the traumas and the issues that are there. And so if we can't get to the root, and if you don't have faith to believe that there is a root problem, then you will continue to experience life on the level that you're experiencing it, and you'll just continue to go through life pretty much like Darnisha said before, on a hamster's wheel, and you're just going through the cycles of life. And so we have to be willing to get off the hamster's wheel. We have to be willing to try something different just to make sure that we're getting what we need. And a lot of times, what we need isn't as hard or complex as we make it. Sometimes it's really simple things that we need to do to get what we need, but our minds of overthinking, we have made everything so much harder in our minds before we even ever try something.
Yeah.
And so we just got to try. We got to try to do something different, and we have to use our faith to do that.
I'm gonna share a comment, but it just went along with what I was gonna say and what you guys were saying. But Sean, hey Sean, said I just had the same conversation. I was not being honest in my therapy, which slowed down my healing process. The reason why G.L.O.W incorporates God in therapy while we put things together, we understand the relationship first that you have to have with God, as three women who have been truly open and honest with God about things. But also, that's what therapy requires, you to be truthful and honest about the things that you're struggling with. If my car was having an issue or it needed oil, I'm not going to take it to the mechanic, and although they can look and see like, oh, okay, this may need some oil, but I need you to tell me what's your reasoning for coming in, right? Like, what's your reasoning for being here today? And I can inspect and do all the things that I need to do. Like therapists, we're going to ask questions. God is going to ask questions. But you have to be honest with yourself about what led you to the mechanics or what led you to the doctor, even if you think it's a hunch. Um, Again, the title is Life Be Lifing, and it's really a season of it. And if you don't do something different, you're going to get caught up in life. Life is going to deal with you. And this is the main reason why we've gotten back on, because we've been seeing such an uptick in crises, just issues and problems that are going on with people. What Tatiana said, you will probably know how to deal with it, and if you deal with something the right way. But so many people are experiencing things for the first time and don't have the tools for it. It's okay to understand that life is life and for everybody. It's okay to know that a lot of people, everybody on this earth has been through something that they may consider a tragedy. But it's not only how you get through a thing, it's also how you deal with a thing. Because a lot of times we want to let time say, oh, okay, well, time has dealt with it. No, you're still dealing with it, whether you want to deal with it or not. So this is just a promotion of the importance of God in therapy. We need to be mentally sound for life in general. And if you think life is hard now, everything that's coming up is just going to get even harder. Why not get the tools to properly be able to deal with things? I say this all the time with my clients, and we talk amongst ourselves, even with our friends. This is not a time to be on the defense of life. When you're on the defense, things are happening to you. You preparing for something to happen, whether you can be on the offense of life and kind of already know the ways that the enemy is going to come, the ways and things of life are going to come, and have the tools you need to properly deal with it, to properly target it. Now is not the time to be on the defense about anything. You need a strategy. You need to be on the offense of your life.
Absolutely. One, I think, misconception therapeutically in the world is the saying that time heals all wounds. That is not true. That is not true for everything. Time does not heal all wounds. Most of the wounds that we're digging from in therapy are very old wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is that we just put a band-aid on it. Whether we put a band-aid on it for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we just put a band-aid on it. And it's just a scab waiting to be peeled again. And then put another band-aid on it. So having people to understand that having the tools to actually deal with those things and get to the root cause of those feelings and emotions that affect the way you think, that affect the habits you have, that affect the behaviors, that affect the way you parent, that affect the way you think about relationships and you operate in them. All of those things come from things that we may not have dealt with yet. Um, we've been on the defense, as Gail stated. We've been on the defense of all
Mhm.
those things that have we have encountered in life. And so having the faith that you can see the other side, having the faith that you can live a better life. And when I say better life, it doesn't. We always think better life means money. It doesn't always mean money. It's a lot of people who have a lot of money who are unhappy. Although
That's
money does solve a lot of problems, some of the things money can't solve.
yeah.
And therapy can solve a lot of those. But I'm thinking just living a better, healthy life, meaning you're happier, you're better to deal with. You know to go to God. You enjoy prayer time. You're a better mother or father to your children. You're a better friend. You're a better sibling. The way you go to work is different. The way you deal with people is different. You
Mhm.
don't hold on to things or hold on to grudges. You learn how to communicate your feelings. You learn how to let go of people or things or situations that no longer serve you. That is a life full of freedom to me. Like where you don't allow all those things to take control of you. You know, I think about the emotion anger because most of us can identify with anger. When you are truly angry, like truly angry, where we do some of our most irresponsible behaviors, it's because we've allowed it to control us. Doesn't it look right if you're in a position where you're able to control those things? Obviously, we can't control every aspect of our life, but areas of your life where you can take back your control and not letting things, situations, or people have control over you.
I have a comment. Good morning, TJ. He said, "What is the offense of things?" So I'm guessing. How do you get on the offense of life? Well, to me personally, when you on the offense, right, and I'm not even a sports person. Tatiana Darnisha is, so I'm gonna try to explain this how God puts it to me. When you're on the offense, you're trying to score, right? Like you're the person that's attempting to get something. And to me, that's winning in life. I'm on the offense, meaning no matter what comes my way from the opposite life or whatever, I'm gonna win. That's my focus. When you're on the defense, you're trying to prevent things from happening. And we know this from therapy and life. We can't control a lot of things. I think Tatiana Darnisha said it. We can't control a lot of things that happen to us. So how do you be able to overcome things that life is happening to you and be strategic about it? And that's where God and therapy comes along. That's being on the offense. I may not know what's going to happen to me today because today is a new day. Today is a day that has never came to me. But since I have the tools and since I have God, I can handle whatever comes in the day and still feel victorious about my day because I know how to deal with it. That's the problem and why we titled this Life Be Lifing. We don't know how to deal with life. I think as people, we're still under this mirage, I would say, that we control everything. And if we did, we wouldn't be three people talking to you even about our personal things. Life has happened to us, things we would have never saw coming. What I understand in this situation, in this time in our life, because we apply everything that we're sharing with you guys, we can walk through life as if nothing's really happening. And it's not saying that life not happening. We figured out how to live life on the offense and not on the defense. We apply the tools. We go to God about everything. We literally follow the blueprint that's laid out to us, the Bible, and also all the tools that we have gotten as therapists. We utilize them ourselves because we're human beings and we're walking through this life unsure of day to day what's going to happen to us as well. But I would rather be on the offense of life, meaning I have the tools and I know how to deal with the things that come up. Then every time life hits us, we lose our mind because that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can honestly say we're not talking about this for no reason.
Yeah.
We're not on here for no reason. We're here for a reason.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's good, Gil, because I mean as far as like you said, from a sports standpoint. So
Tell us
you
about
did
it.
good. You did no, but that's literally what I was, thinking about as far as understanding the offense. I'm not going to just allow life to happen to me or just take
Right.
anything that's coming to me if I'm on the offense of it. So that means if a situation does come up, like you said, I have the tools to now go attack or deal with or understand why I've gotten to this place. And here's the thing, when we start attacking life from the offense, guess what? That means that you're taking in less attacks. You're not, or whatever. Now, so we got to come as far as the boxing standpoint of it, right? And understanding, like, okay, if he's coming, he or whatever, and he's gonna try to punch because that's what the enemy does, or whatever. Instead of taking those blows on, now I have to counteract those moves. When I see the things coming at me, now I gotta know that, oh nope, you coming this way. Okay, now I gotta move this way. And so it's just, we have to make sure that we're moving in a way to where we're not so blind to life that we don't see the hit or about to come or whatever. So, or the punches being thrown. So we have to make sure that even if we do, learning how to, instead of taking the full impact of those things, letting those things roll off. So now I'm not getting the full exposure of the blow. And I feel like that's literally what has transpired in a lot of our lives is that we all taking these full impacts of life. And so now we like, man, I'm so beat up and I feel so defeated, to now how do I come back from this or whatever. And so it's just like, why do we always have to get to rock bottom or the bottom of a thing before we like, oh, I gotta get up or whatever, instead of just being like, hey, if I come and I approach life in a different way, and if I see it from a different perspective, then now I can challenge myself to be like, no, I've seen this before. So because
Yeah.
I've seen it before, now I can actually respond differently.
Mhm.
Oh, I know when Sally is, about to get upset and she about to get ready to go off. Do I really want to be around her while she going off? No, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go the other way because I don't want now my attitude, her wrongness of her attitude, her bad attitude to rub off me. And then now I'm responding in that way towards her. And so it's just seeing those small things or whatever. We don't realize it's the small foxes, my God. It's those small things that just ruin us and open us up to now having to deal with these things on a larger scale. So we have to make sure that we're seeing the small things the way that things are coming at us in life, which are the enemy of the things. And then now, okay, well, see, now I know you coming at me this way. So now I'm going to respond this way. And even if we fall short in those moments, seeing it is the whole point. A mistake is not for you to continue to make a mistake. A mistake is for you to correct it and see it, know what it is, and then now act accordingly to make things better so you don't keep getting the same responses or outcomes. And so we want to make sure that the outcome of life is different for us from an offensive stance versus allowing life to happen, and we have to continue to try to get up and attack it from a defensive stance. It's harder. I mean, for me, I feel like it's gonna always be easier for me to go score than it is gonna be for me to defend, to then try to take, then to try to go score. So I feel like if you have the ball on the offensive stance, the ball is in your court. So what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. One thing that I heard while you were speaking, Tatiana, is to be flexible. We have to understand that things aren't going to look like the way that we thought they were going to look like, and so we have to be flexible. You think about a point guard. Your best point guards in the league are the ones who can flexible, who can play several positions, who
Yes.
are able to adjust when things don't necessarily go the way that they anticipated when they pass the ball to such and such, or when they sit at the top of the key and they can see two or three different ways they can score because they're flexible, right? As humans, we got to get out of this mind saying that things can only or have to be done one way.
Yep.
They don't. You can still get to the other side several different ways, and God will still be pleased with either of those ways. So we have to be flexible and open to change when we're on the offense, understanding that there's more than one way to do things. and that first way may not work. So guess what? You're gonna have to try something different.
Yeah.
So being flexible is a huge part of that. Especially like I said, using the sports analogy, Gail, that I love. Even in track,
What's the
we
point?
trackies. Tatiana's the trackies. One of the things we learned being on a team, because track is a team sport, um, and running on relays, is that you had to be flexible. And because of our flexibility and our skills, it allowed us to really participate and be on a lot of relays because we weren't um, committed to only being in, like, I only want to do first leg. No, we were like, I want to be on a relay. Put me on whatever leg it is. I don't care because I can run any leg. That was our flexibility mindset. Instead of being stuck in wanting to only do one thing, the goal was to win. I want to be on any relay that we can win. And so you equate that to life. The goal is to get past this moment, learn from it, and move on. The goal is to win in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great discussion today, ladies. Is there anything else you want to add to the viewers today before we get off?
When you was repeating it, you were saying something about that, but old folks used to say it's more than one way to skin a cat. And
Mm-hmm.
I just kept hearing that. Just some comments. TJ said, yes, everything is not a remote, and you guys are definitely here for a purpose. Exactly right. Just a little point on going back to like team analogies and in sports and things. And I'm not a sports person, but I do know this as far as like when you're in sports, I know that you've studied the other team, especially if you're going for a championship, if it's the finale, you know how this other team works. Um, this is the enemy to all of our lives, if this makes sense. While we have to live our life on the offense, there is someone, whether you really understand this or not, that has studied the patterns of your bloodline going back centuries ago, that understands and thinks that he understands exactly how you're going to operate. Because we don't understand ourselves, because we haven't taken time to understand our bloodlines and things, this is why we continue generational curses, generational habits. We keep doing the same thing. So he didn't figure you out. He didn't figure Gail out. He didn't figure Tatiana out, Darnisha. What happens, how you confuse the enemy, he can hit you with the same thing, but how are you going to respond? And this is where God and therapy comes in. We studied, our enemy, in the sense we do understand that he understands us. Why don't we understand him? You see what I'm saying? So this is how you start to get on the offense. You got to study your enemy. TJ said Darnisha did not like the 4x4. Yeah,
Did
don't
not.
tell me. Be honest. We said honesty today.
I did not, but I did not like the four
Nobody
by four.
did.
But I was a team player, and the end goal was to win. I wanted to
Yeah,
win. Period. So
yeah.
And I was
But
gonna
no,
say, oh, go ahead, Gil.
no, I was just gonna say that's all I was gonna say about just being on the offense and doing something different regardless of life is life. And Sean said, thank you ladies for this discussion. Glad I tuned in. It was definitely needed this morning. Pray you beautiful ladies have a blessed day and blessed week. Word of the week is offense. Amen.
Amen.
So we're
amen.
going to say that
Amen.
too, that it is going to be on the offense. Tatiana, I'll let you share, and Darnisha, you can close it out.
Oh, really quickly, I was, hearing Darnisha on the flexibility, but understanding the flexibility that we had led us to a national championship.
Yep.
And so because we
I
were
got
so
winners on my team.
we were so used to seeing it done one way, to where the fastest person was always fourth leg. That was
Yeah.
just a normal regimen of what we were used to seeing back then. And so when the coach gave us the strategy of putting the fastest person that ran the 100 at that time, which was myself, at third leg, we were like, huh? We were kind of taken back, but at the same time, we saw it work. And so,
Mhm.
and then we pretty much everybody that ran the leg on that relay, the legs that we ran, we weren't expecting to run, but
Weren't our normal legs.
it was
Were
not,
not
it
our
was
normal
not
legs.
normal.
Nobody ran the leg they would have normally ran
No.
the traditional way that we did 4x1 relays.
Yeah.
Had none of us been flexible,
Then
that
that
that,
wouldn't
that
have
we
happened.
wouldn't, it may have not led us to a championship.
Right. And so I was grateful, but here's the thing, we had to not only be flexible, we had to trust in the coach. So that
Mhm.
means in these times, we have to trust in God that He knows what He's doing with our lives and He knows how to get us the results that we're looking for. I hear you, that we're
Well, we
looking
gotta
for.
talk after this. I'm like, yeah, that's a strategy.
And so that is a strategy. We have to trust in the plans that we've been given and stop always trying to do it or think we have to do it our way.
Or
Your
the
way
old
may
way.
not be
The
working
old way.
for you. So guess what? If you have a strategy or you have something that is coming to you and you like, oh, I need to try it, at least give it a try. And so, like I said, it yielded us a championship and it also has now landed us in the Langston's Athletic Hall of Fame. And so these are things that we didn't know that at the time that it was going to yield such great reward, because that's not what we were even thinking about. We were thinking about winning in the moment, but it has yielded and left a legacy now that we have with Langston Athletics. And so just for me, I feel like just having faith to believe that you don't know you may look at it for like it's in this time now, but just know that it will yield great results with the faith that you have now for your life later.
Yeah, and for future generations, you always hear the old folks say that what I'm doing now is going to affect what happens later on, and that's where we are now. So the decisions that we make not only affect us today in our lives, but it affects future generations, your children, your grandchildren, so forth and so on. And so we have to understand that aspect too. We never, when we did that nearly 20 years ago, we didn't realize the impact that it was going to have on the program, and that what we did is now taught. It is now the thing that people look towards, and things of that sort. And it took faith in our coach, faith in doing something different, utilizing it, doing it, because we could have been those athletes that says we weren't going to even try it, and then rolling with it.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to do life. When God gives you something, you need to at least try. You need to go back to Him. You need to be flexible in His plan. I always tell the story that I never envisioned myself being a therapist, and my life would look so different had I not took that call and did what He told me to do. Because I didn't have to. It was a choice.
Yeah.
Um, and so we have to take into account God's plans for our lives and what that looks like for Him, not for us, on that. So great topic, great topic today, ladies. Uh,
Mhm.
with all the feedback, I appreciate all the guys tuning in and
Yeah.
having their questions. We truly appreciate it. Make sure that you follow us on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube. We will be back at Northeast Missionary Baptist Church discussing grief this Saturday. So if you're wanting to participate in that, please, you can hit us up on any other platforms, our individual or through our Glow Stars, as well as our email to be able to participate that. So this Saturday we will be discussing grief. We'll be back on Wednesdays for Wisdom Wednesdays. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.